Check 1 2, check 1 2. Welcome to another session of Circle Talk. Before we get into it, I'm having a couple little difficulties trying to get everybody logged on. Got Barry Crosby's in the building, waiting for a few others to jump on as we speak. But before we move forward, welcome, guys. We have a conversation that really needs to be addressed. As you guys know, usually Circle Talk is an opportunity for us to share great people doing great things in the community and highlighting their lives and their ups and downs and where they've come from and where they're going. That's what this is usually all about. But today we are going to be talking about race. And race has been something that we have talked about for centuries and centuries. And we have been trying to figure this out. But for some reason, we continue to stumble and be kicked down and pushed down and shot in the back and things of that nature. And today we're going to talk about it from 1963. And when I tell you guys 1963, when people wonder, why did you pick 1963? Well, it's really simple. Let me read you exactly why. Because on August 28th, 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. delivered a speech to a massive group of civil rights movement marchers gathered around at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. And this is popularly known as the day that he delivered the I Have a Dream speech. That's why we picked 1963, if anybody is wondering. So that's why we're starting there, and we're talking about today because it is still happening. The things that they were dealing with back then, we are still dealing with today, and we're going to talk about it right now. So if you want to be a part of this conversation, please say hello. Please share your thoughts and your ideas and however it is that you're feeling about what we have to say today. We're going to start off by trying to get my guy Qayi on because I really wanted him to have a conversation with me about what happened to his family. And that is actually really important. I'm going to try and play this video for you guys. We'll see if it works. I'm still working out the technology of this new system, but hey, let's give it a shot, see what happens. Let me find it for you guys real quick. And then we're going to play this vid because I think if you haven't seen the video yet, you have to see it. So here we go. Let's see if I can make it happen real quick. Start the. Okay. Share screen. All right, here we go. Let's see if we get this in there. Share. Of course, it's not the first one. It should be the first one, but of course it's not. So, gotta love technology. Are you okay? So we got Qayi in now.
A high school student section made racist. New at 6, the Olympia School District is apologizing after a high school student section made racist chants caught on video targeting a black player at a basketball game. These chants were recorded in a video which has now been viewed hundreds of times online. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Aaron Wright.
And I'm Monique Mingolov, and this all happened on Friday night. This was when Capitol High played Lacey's River Ridge High School. And Cairo 7's Lauren Donovan joins us live from Olympia tonight. And Lauren, you spoke to a dad who says his son was the target.
I did, Monique, and that dad, Qayi Steplight, he grew up here in Olympia. He himself went to River Ridge and played on the basketball team. And Steplight says he's no stranger to racist attitudes here in Thurston County. But he says that video that we're about to show you, it really drives home to him that something, it needs to change.
I remember walking downtown Olympia with some of my friends, and we were getting called monkeys and gorillas. And when I saw it, it just was like deja vu all over again.
Steplight was there, sitting in the stands Friday, watching number 3, his son Amari.
It's kind of ironic how it's come full circle. And now it's my son dealing with this head on.
Number 3 is a gorilla.
Somehow, he never heard the chants, but he tells us the next day, the video was everywhere. Steplight says a Capitol High student shamelessly posted it on Instagram, tagging his son Amari. Late Wednesday night, roughly 5 days later, Olympia school superintendent apologized with a message to families. It reads in part, "Incidents like this do harm to our entire community. However, the brunt of the blow can be especially felt by our community members who are Black." And that, quote, "specifically the term gorilla is used to describe the opposing player who is Black. Comparing Black people to monkeys has a long, sinister racist history in our society."
I usually block out the crowd when I play.
Amari tells us he's not letting this get him down. Instead, he's channeling it into motivation. That said, today in geometry class, he got pushback from a classmate.
Basically, she was just saying that if you look like something, then you look like something. You shouldn't really just take it at heart. I think what needs to happen is there needs to be a lot of education, because what I'm seeing is that it's being taught at home. There's a lot of families that feel like this is something they're going to pass on to their kids.
And Steplight came out here to Capitol High this week and filed a complaint. He told me while students.
So we're gonna get Qayi in right now so he can kind of touch on this. If you guys are still here, please make sure you guys share this out so we can get our viewers up and get the conversation in the forefront so we can talk about this. So we're gonna go ahead and bring Qayi and his son Amari on.
Oh, whoops. 1 second.
Yo, you there?
Hey. Make sure I got us both in here. Okay.
Hey, how y'all doing today?
Pretty good. How about yourself? Sorry, man. I'm trying to get my camera
No,
right.
it's all good.
Yep.
Technology. It's always pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So I played the vid for you guys, and obviously you guys have been dealing with it since. How's everything been going since that interview with Cairo 7?
So everything here at the house, we're staying positive. Me and my family, we're all close. We've been here for a long time, since '94. We're from New York originally, so we're the only ones out here, really. So by default, we make sure we stay close and tight and everything. So we're not letting anything penetrate the family. We're all in communication with each other, making sure that we're all good. The biggest thing that I've noticed, and it's kind of ironic how we're having this interview, because I just got back from coaching my 3rd grade team, and the parents, the staff, were very derogatory up there today. I think a lot of what's been on media and my interviews and stuff like that I've been done, and the message that we're trying to push in this community it's brought in the right people out, and it's also brought out some of the people who don't agree. And at the game, it was 11 a.m. game out in Puyallup at the Puyallup Recreation Center. One of the referees was very derogatory. He told me, to sit down and shut up, Mr. Fox News, and was just really mean and rude to the kids. He cursed at a couple of our kids. He told some of our parents that he'd kick them out the gym. The game started to get a little bit out of control at the end, because he was just making every single call he could make. He gave a technical foul to two of my team, two of my players, which, keep in mind, they're 8 years old. So they don't even know what a technical foul is. They're like, well, what did I do? And the referee is just, well, you're playing too aggressive. This is not the Hilltop. And it's just those types of words, those subliminal messages is what we're tired of. We're tired of the way that they talk to us, the way that they perceive, Black people, people of color in general. We're just tired of it. And so, I had to have a conversation with the kids and the parents after the game, and I had to tell them, look, there's adults out here that are going to treat you a certain way because of the way you look. And I don't want you to ever feel like you don't have support. I don't ever want you to ever feel like you can't stand up and talk and speak your mind, and that you don't have a voice. Don't ever let somebody tell you to shut up and sit down. Because at the end of the day, you don't have to do anything. And so I wanted to get that message to the kids, because I feel like now more than ever, they need to hear that. They need to hear it from me. They need to hear it from, the families at home. They need to hear it from other people in the community, to let them know that they need to stand up and continue to talk and push that message forward. So the kids were they weren't as upset because we still ended up winning the game, which is what they were really trying to. They gave 2 technical fouls, and the guy was like, one more tech, I can kick you out the gym, and you guys can forfeit the game. So he just literally stood almost right by the bench just to make. I mean, he was waiting to try to forfeit the game because we were up by a large margin. So it's just a constant battle I'm getting. Every time I leave the house, dealing with people who aren't happy, who feel like I gotta voice my opinion to this guy. Even though it's something that happened to my son, I'm in the wrong. It's always twisted in a way to make us feel like we're at fault.
And it's crazy, man. When we think about it, you said that when you was in school, you dealt with the same type of issues with people, calling you all kinds of names or whatnot. Amari, I got a question for you, man. Is this like the first time something like this has ever happened to you?
Well, so hold on one sec. We have a little bit of volume,
Hold up,
a little bit of volume issues. Hold on one sec here. Let's see. Sorry about that, David. What is going on here?
one second. Let me see if it might. Hopefully, it's not me, but let me find out. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Can you guys hear me? Okay. So yeah, if you can hear me.
Okay. All right, we're good to go.
Like an echo.
We're good to go. Oh, somebody else can hear the echo too.
We're gonna find out if it's me right here. I'm not sure where that is coming from.
Oh, here it goes. I got it. I got it figured out.
You figured it out?
Yep, we're good to go now. I think it was a setting that I had. I'm sorry about that.
All right. So sorry about that, you guys. I turned my phone off just in case, so I have no phone now. But we're gonna keep this party going. Amari. So like I was saying before, I know like your dad was saying that he had dealt with it. Is this something that you first time dealing with this, or have you experienced any of this type of thing before?
Um, well, it's definitely not the first time. It's happened plenty of other times when I was in public with
Mm-hmm.
like friends. I remember one time when me and my friends went to the mall, and this lady thought, or we were just like looking at clothes, shoes, like whatever we could buy, and then this lady thought we were stealing. And then she called, she asked like the front desk, and then they called the security, and we got kicked out because she said that she called us stealing, and they didn't even try to like check like any cameras or anything. They just like told us to like walk out, and we just left.
So they just stereotyped you
Yeah,
because
just basically the stereotype, not even like
and
just
when
they
you
just believe they're on the spot.
and what did you think like when you seen the video for the first time and you realize, yo, all I'm doing is doing what I love to do, which is playing
Hmm.
ball. And
Yeah.
how did you
When I
feel about
first saw
that,
the
bro?
video, um, I was definitely surprised because when I was playing in the game, I didn't really hear anything like towards me because I usually like block out the crowd when I play.
Yeah.
And when I saw the video, which was sent by a friend of my brother, I was it was it was hard. I didn't know like anybody. I don't know any of those people in the stands, and I didn't know they were those type of people to say something like that at a basketball game, especially. And it was definitely like hard to take in.
And it's crazy, man. And I was talking to Q when I first seen it.
Hmm.
Like I told him, I was like, bro, like that hits me home too because even here living in Tacoma and being in this area is predominantly you get a little bit of everything in this area. You still get it here too, even in Tacoma, Washington, you get it. And to hear that it happened to you, man, I was kind of crushed because I remember you when you was like this little. I mean, like we used to go over to Bally's all the time and play ball when you was
Hmm.
when you was a little baby. And so I almost felt like my own son was getting hit. And so when I heard about it, I talked to Q. I was like, let's discuss it, man. I think this is something we definitely need to talk about. And I'm hoping and praying that you guys continue pushing forward. I know that Q said he's been talking to a lot of different people, and trying to get something done about this situation happening at that school. I know he got suspended for what, a day, and then he was back the next day, something like that.
Yeah. So from what I'm hearing and what I'm understanding, and I spoke with the principal of the school, and she stated that they suspended the kid, and they brought him back. So it was a 1 day suspension, from my understanding. They brought him back, and then they had him write some letter. Now, the key thing to this is when she called me, she told me she had him write a letter. She said that the letter wasn't, when they read the letter, it wasn't good enough, so they were going to edit the letter. So is it really a letter coming from him, or is it a letter coming from the school district? Because if you have to turn around and edit the letter, it's going to be your words. It's not a letter coming from him directly. So, for me personally, I ask myself this all the time. If I leave my house, right, knowing the conditions that we're living in as black men and women, if I go out of my house and I act out of pocket and I start, spitting out or spewing out racist chants towards anybody else, right, white folks saying certain things, what is the consequences for us, right? What is the consequence? If I go out and I'm driving down the road and I get pulled over and I don't put my hands on top of the steering wheel and I don't look and smile at the police officer, if I don't say yes, sir, and I'm let's say I drop a drink and I'm grabbing my drink, what is the consequence to that? And we've seen the consequences to that. We've seen, if I'm jogging in the neighborhood that maybe I don't live in, but I'm just jogging through because it's a part of my path, and I'm not from that neighborhood, and there's people in that neighborhood who know I'm not from that neighborhood, they have an issue with me being there. What was the consequence for Ahmaud Arbery? What is the consequence for people that, when we get out of pocket, quote unquote out of pocket, we're doing things that's not conducive to what they want?
It's always going to be worse than if
Exactly.
it was a different race.
Exactly. So I'm asking for the same in return. If you're going to drop the hammer on us, then you need to drop the hammer. And I'm not saying take them out and do anything. What I'm saying is it's got to be. You have to show that you're not going to tolerate it on the end as far as what we're doing to you. There has to be a certain level of respect, and you want us to act a certain way. Then they also need to be held to that same standard. Because a 1 day suspension and a letter is a vacation for a lot of these kids. They come home, they get to play video games. I really highly doubt, I don't know the family, but I really highly doubt there was any type of conversation going on at the dinner table all day about how he should act. I'm sure that it was a very light day for him, and he was consulted by his parents and was comforted by his family, regardless of what he said. So
what I want to do real quick is I'm gonna bring Marcus on because he's in a waiting room. I want him to come on and kind of give his thoughts on it as well, because we have a plethora of people that are going to be here today, guys. So I'm gonna bring Marcus in. You chill. We're gonna keep conversation, but I'm gonna bring him on real quick and let him say something. So here's Marcus Krosky, y'all. I'm gonna bring him in. What's good, man? Can you hear me okay? He always got volume issues.
There we go. Nah, I just hadn't taken off mute yet. I was sitting on mute, so y'all didn't hear me in the background.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right.
Why don't you get in here and speak on this, man? Talk to us a little bit.
Well, man, first of all, let me say to Q, man, the way you've handled it, I think is great. And then also how you mentioned the situation you dealt with earlier today as well, because man, I'll tell you, if I was the coach and I'm hearing the refs say stuff like that, like you said, this ain't the Hilltop. Like, me and David, we're from Hilltop. You know what I mean? We grew up in Hilltop. And I just don't know if I've been able to keep my cool like you have, because, as you mentioned in the video, that you dealt with this when you were a child, and now to see your son deal with it. And, it's different when you go through something, but then when you see your child, your seed going through it, it's that much worse. And then to see another reoccurrence of something with some kids that you coach, to be able to keep your cool, man, I got to commend you, because I don't know that I would have. And I'm a pretty mild-mannered guy, but there's some things that I personally don't know if I can actually just go through it and not really just let off, because, we're Black in America. We've been dealing with this stuff since we were children. We've heard about it. We've seen it. We've dealt with it head on. And like myself, I'm someone who's never been in trouble with the law, but I still had a lot of run-ins with police, no matter what, simply by being a kid on Hilltop. You know what I mean? An area that was definitely policed a lot because of the nature of, there was a lot of crime back in the day there. And so you were always assumed to be, some sort of problem child anyway, even when you weren't doing anything. And so dealing with it so much from the time you're a child to growing up, seeing so many different things whether it was my parents having issue with someone, myself, my siblings, my friends, and even till now as an adult and seeing other children go through it, it weighs on you so much. It's like what we have to do to keep from going mad. It's just like we have to have so much mental fortitude. It's absolutely insane. So again, I got to commend you, man, because I just don't know when it's involving my kid, how much calm I would have. And then, like say, even as a coach, because when I coach football, and when I'm coaching those kids, those are my kids. You know what I mean? So I'm sure you feel the same way. And have a ref, an adult, treating 8-year-olds like that. I mean, I have a 5-year-old son, and I can just imagine if I see a ref acting like that towards my son or some other kids that I'm coaching, it's going to be a problem. It's really going to be a problem, to say the least. It's just insane that people can be so flawed that they even will treat 8-year-olds like that because they're mad at you for just telling your story. You know what I mean? Which is really what it amounts to, because all you did was expose what happened. And, well, it really was already exposed. It was out there.
Yeah.
All you did was just take it a little further and spread the story a little more, and they're mad at you for it. You know what I mean? They're not mad at the person that was doing it, the kids that were calling your son a gorilla, or the kids that are making the noises. They're mad at you for bringing it to the light. I mean, that's just how insane it is. But, we know this is nothing new.
Yeah. To touch on what you were saying as far as, trying to get to a kind of a place where I can kind of talk and handle it in a professional way. And a lot of it has to do with, I know I got 4 boys, so I got 8 sets of eyes on me. They're looking at what my next step is going to be, and so I'm setting the precedence for how they're going to react when they have children and something happens to them, because it's going to happen to everybody. When you're Black in America, everybody's going to deal with this at some point, and I got to make sure that they're equipped and that they see the way that I'm dealing with it. And then I also got, I got other kids' eyes on me as well. The kids that I coach, they're looking at, well, how is coach going to handle this? So, I had to ask myself, the day after it happened, why am I not as angry as I should be? Because I wasn't really angry. And I think a part of it has to do with, I think a part of me has accepted that that's just, it is what it is. And I tell people don't accept it, but I think I've even accepted some of it too as well. And it's hard not to. So I've been trying to force myself to get out of that thinking of accepting it, but and understanding that if I accept it and I start to feel that way, then everybody else is going to follow that trend, especially people in my house, my family. So I'm forcing myself to get out of that level of acceptance, to really try to fight and be as outspoken as I can, but it's hard.
Right. No, I fully agree.
Where's the fine line on when it comes to being a well-mannered father and dealing with these type of situations and not wanting to take it there, and so you handle it by going to the media about it, but then you hear about this boy or whoever it was that did it, he gets one day off, and then they're having him write something, and then if it's not good enough, they're going to help him write it. Where do you cross that line though, where it's like, you want to keep it chill, but at some point, that's where we kind of sometimes lose it, because you're taking the right precautions and taking the right steps and you continue moving, but at some point, when is us going further than that what they want us to do? Is that what they're waiting for us to kind of jump into? Or where do you draw the line where you just, hey, my kid can't go to that school no more? Where does it stop?
I know that when you mentioned that, I know just talking with the principals, she had said that there were kids of color that were there who didn't even show up to school on Tuesday, because they didn't feel comfortable, they didn't feel like it was safe. And so, and I asked, and when you go to these schools, you go to Olympia, Black Hills, Tumwater, and Capitol, and you're not going to see very many, if any, teachers, counselors, staff that are people of color. And so my question is, critical race theory should be something that should be taught in schools. That's how you can't, in this day and age and where we're at right now, if you want to be able to kind of turn the page on this, you have to put those programs in the school. But who's going to teach them?
Yeah.
You gotta get us into the system, into these schools, so that we can teach it, because I know education is a big thing and they talk about education, but it's like, okay, well, but you got the wrong people teaching it.
Yeah.
You need to get us in there teaching it, so that we can dive deep into it. We can really describe how it makes us feel coming from our perspective, versus having somebody that's never lived it, hasn't been through it, teaching it. Because they're not gonna be able to do it the right way, and it's not gonna come across the way it needs to come across to the kids. They're getting it 100% at home. We're only giving it to it 25% at school. We gotta meet what they're getting at home in order to be able to give them the ability to decide, like, you know what, mom and dad, I hear what you're saying, but I've been friends with this black kid, this black boy or girl, for 3 years now. I'm a junior, and I got a lot more in common than I do with some of my other friends that are white. So why should I hate this kid?
Yeah.
And I think kids are old enough at that age to make that decision.
All right, so we got another person in the waiting room. We got Zarel. We're gonna go ahead and bring him in and have him comment as well, guys. So
I appreciate you, Marcus, too, brother.
What's up? All right, here's Zarel Blue.
There it is. There you go. I'm converting from my phone to the desktop so I can hear you a little bit better.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's just very low. It's very low. I don't think it's your fault though. I'm getting off my phone screen to hook it up to the desktop. It's very low.
Zarel, why don't you go ahead and jump in and give us your thoughts on this whole situation, brother?
I can hear a little bit of it. What you say? The situation of
racism.
Oh man.
You know the video. You know the numbers. You know the years of up and down disrespect from the people other than ourselves, and talk about it a little bit.
So racism, man, we all know the world is specific. This country is built on racism. The Klan no longer wears sheets. They're wearing bow ties and dress clothes and waiter outfits. So now we know racism is out there. We just got to be more mindful about how we go about conducting our day-to-day lives. Because, of course, as black men and women, you public enemy number one. Yeah. Regardless, you already got a target on your back. It's beautiful, but at the same time, it's scary. Racism can have people doing things by default, liking people because they feel like they want to get in to be part of their race. And that is a problem that we're having in our culture. Specifically, we're too busy trying to do one up on each other and not trying to help each other. And it's not conducive to our growth. And we have to step back, look at the whole eggshell before it cracks in our hand, and understand how we want to conduct business, knowing this is a racist approach in our business practices, our racist approach at our home, our racist approach at our job. We can't allow racism to stop us. They want us to stop. They want us to quit. They want us to fall down. We can't allow that to happen. And I can say now, I don't think racism is like very bad, but it's extreme to where it's like black folks are really in last place now. I mean, they keep popping up with this stop the Asian hate. Well, where that happened? Since when? Since when? And then if I hear that somebody that's gay, that's a hate crime. What? Since when? What about us? How do we go to get them same laws, them same forms of protection passed on us? It's like we're valuable to God. Why should I have to die to live heaven on in the sky? I want to live heaven on earth. They don't want us to live that heaven on earth. There's just so many ways, and the system is created. People keep saying it's broken. It's created to keep us down. And once you understand that and knowing who you are, it's a beautiful struggle. But you have to play the game and understand racism is never going away. It's never going away. It's never going away, and you have to be very mindful of your surrounding. And also, Mr. Steplight, I did peep your video, man, and heart goes out to you, and I apologize you had to endure in such ignorant behavior. I wish the parents are found of that video, because he didn't know what he was saying. He heard that somewhere else, that heard that through somewhere else. We got to get to the bottom line of that and hold these parents accountable as well as these teachers.
And I appreciate you, man. I really do. I appreciate, the support from everyone. When the video came out, and it was sent to me by one of my oldest son's friends. I originally just put it out because I needed to figure out how do I approach this, because it's not something I've ever dealt with my kid, at a sporting event. So I was trying to figure out what's the first step to take, and it seemed like it hit enough people that it just kind of it started to go in every direction. It went north, south, east, and west, and everybody was getting a hold of it, and people started to show their support in a sense that they had the same issues, the same experience in the school district.
Mm-hmm.
And there's three different things. There's three different incidents that come to mind. I've been speaking with a lot of parents, a lot of staff. I've got thousands of messages, and there's three specific instances. There's a lady that told me that her daughter was told to sit in the back of the bus. This is in 2018. In that school, her daughter was told to sit in the back of the bus, and then when the parent, was like, well, why did you, it's a 15 passenger van. There's 8 students riding the bus, and you telling her to sit in the back of the bus. Why? Oh, because there's assigned seating. So you have everybody else sitting in the front, but you sitting her in the back by herself. This is a 5th grade girl. That was the first that just kind of talking with families that really kind of that part of it really made me angry. The second one was there another incident with another girl, a teenage girl in high school, who was slapped by a teacher. And then come to find out, they reported it as the young girl was being violent towards the teacher. So it was in defense. The slap was in defense. And there was no proof of this girl being violent in the past. No history. There's nothing like that, because they love to bring up our history. There was never anything in past experience where she's ever been violent. But it was always, well, we had to do this because you guys made us do this, right? Now, if we act in that same context, well, if you guys are going to do this, then we're going to do this. It's always twisted and turned into a situation where we're always at fault. And in this game, in the particular game that I had earlier today with 3rd grade at 11 a.m. out in Puyallup, they didn't want me there. They didn't want me coaching because they didn't like what I was saying on the media. And again, it's another opportunity for them to turn around and say, well, because you're out here talking and saying things we don't like, we don't want you coaching. And on top of that, we're going to treat your 8-year-old kids like crap. And then we're going to call the cops on you while you're walking out. While I'm walking out, I'm walking out saying, you know what, we're out.
So you're
But
saying
they want to go the extra step.
This happened in Puyallup.
This was in Puyallup this morning.
That's crazy.
This morning.
I mean, and for me, and I'm just gonna jump in and speak my mind. When I think about Puyallup, I kind of see Puyallup is it's got a little diversity as well. But when I think about Tumwater, Olympia, I mean it. And this is just from my honest opinion, from hanging out with Q a lot in Olympia and Tumwater and out in that area, I can see that type of stuff happening there because it's a predominantly, to me, a predominantly white area with very few, people of color around. And I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong or not, Q, but I mean that's kind of what I've seen. The many times that we've hung out there. I mean,
you're 100% right. It is a predominantly white area. The teachers, the staff out there is predominantly white. The programs out there that we don't have. There's a lot of programs in that school district that we don't have in Thurston County. And in the interview, I said there was a line drawn in the sand, and I really meant that. There's a certain distance you go that when you cross into that next road and you start getting into that school district, there is a sense of we're not welcome, and we have to travel to those schools to play sports, football, basketball, baseball, soccer, whatever it is. We have to go over there, and everybody that I spoke to, not one person has told me that they have not experienced racism in that particular school district. So it's how many people have to speak out and say we're tired before they decide that this is serious enough for them to change it. Get black and brown people of color, teachers, staff in those schools, so that we can kind of balance this out, so they can start teaching what needs to be taught as far as critical race theory is concerned. Start putting policies in place where there's zero tolerance. If you act like this again, or if this happens again, you're no longer allowed to come to any more events permanently. And then if it continues to go on, there's got to be expulsions where you can't even come to the school district. If you want to go to school, now you might have to go to River Ridge, Timberline. Come over here to where we're at, so you can actually get an understanding on how we are at schools. And maybe that'll help some of these kids over there, especially some of these privileged white kids. Maybe they can start seeing, you know what, they know a whole lot different. They know a whole lot different from their school or my school, other than the fact that we just got more white folks. And we got some of the better programs.
I want to ask the whole panel this. Obviously, we have just talked about Ole, Olympia, Tumwater, these areas, even Puyallup, these areas being predominantly favored for white people. How likely is a person of color, a teacher of color, going to be successful going into these areas? Aren't they gonna? Don't y'all kind of feel like they're gonna get the same flack as as his son got, or as he got when he was coming up? Or do you think that he's gonna get a different outlook because he is a teacher? What do y'all think about that?
I mean, they'll respect him as an adult being a teacher, but they'll give it to him in a different form or fashion. We may not know what it is. Like I say, the modern day Klansmen don't wear sheets no more. I mean, they're at our job, wearing our uniforms, wearing the trash man. Like, they're doing some inconspicuous stuff. So, I mean, they may even try to get out of their class. You see what I'm saying? They may, hey, I don't want this teacher because of so-and-so. And that's nothing. That's fine. Make your own decision. Just don't cause that. But there's plenty of ways. Nowadays, these kids are mischievous. They can set them up in any kind of way. Anything is possible. I don't put anything past nobody no more, especially these white folks. They don't get their way. They want to make the world be like, hey, this happened to me, and tell the whole world I don't feel safe no more. And everybody believes them. Meanwhile, you got an innocent brother, man or woman, just still going about their day, someone said this about you. Someone said this about you. It's like, hey, you know what? They can continue saying what they want. I got to continue chucking away. We just can't fall into their trap. That's it is. From redlining, buying homes, to getting raises, to paying women under pockets, racism in so many different aspects. We can't fall into their traps. And these kids, if there was a minority teacher, just don't fall into your trap, man. Just keep teaching. But one thing I do know, all kids love minority black men and women teachers. From my understanding, a lot of kids and my nephews like, I love my teacher just because they're black. And then the rest falls into play. So I think really black teachers make a world of difference in these classrooms. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a teacher in the class with kids. I just hear from different people. So, I mean, having them in the class, I think they will get that level of respect. And if the white folks is disrespectful, I think you'll have a different outlook.
Let me say this. I would say that if it's a racist area, it's a racist area. So, I mean, a black or other minority teacher isn't going to change the area at all. It might make it better for other students of color that they have a teacher that's an ally there, so someone they can talk to, but it's not going to change the area. I mean, because when you're talking about racism in general, you're really talking about a heart condition. It's the hearts of people, you know what I mean? And adding a couple teachers here and there isn't going to change someone's heart. You know what I mean? At least not initially. I mean, it really takes, being in proximity, having relationships with people of different races and colors to really learn that we're actually more alike than we are different overall. Just because someone's a different color, it doesn't matter, right? I use this example often that, before I moved to Hilltop, I was an Army brat. My dad was in the Army, so I lived on different bases. And while even then there were some situations, you didn't see it as much on an Army base, especially like when I lived overseas in Germany. Because here you are overseas on a base with people of all these different races, and none of us are even in our home country. So we're all just trying to get along, trying to make friends and things like that. And so you get to know people of other races automatically just purely from the standpoint of who they are as a person, as opposed to what they look like and the stereotypes you may have heard or anything like that. But here in the U.S., people can live where they want to live, be where they want to be. And so usually you see people who don't want to be around other races. What do? They move out to areas where they can be around people that they like, that look like them, that think like them. And so that's all they get. And so that racism continues to grow in them, and they pass it on, and they pass it on, and they pass it on. To one point you made earlier, Dave, you said, like, this was in Puyallup where Q was dealing with this earlier today. But, Puyallup has a racist past as well, because you think about it, go back 20 years or so, Puyallup wasn't all these subdivisions and planned communities. It was country and all that, and they had that lawsuit back in the day that involved some folks that we know, Courtney, Travis Thomas, and them, and some other families, and they all sued the school district because of all the racism going on there. So, Puyallup is way more integrated now, and so there might be less racism now, but it takes a lot of integration to really start to cut down on the racism. Adding a few here, a few there, all that is just a couple more people that's going to start getting a little more flack. Like I said, a teacher, adding a couple teachers, it'll help with the students that are minorities in that area or in those schools. But overall, I mean, when you're trying to change heart issues like that, man, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of integration. It takes, really getting to know people that are not like you. And this doesn't go just for racism, just for any prejudice you may have. You know what I mean? You have to be around those people and really get to know people and learn that people are people. We're all humans, living a human experience and trying to, get through life. But when people separate themselves from others and then they only going off these stereotypes that they hear and see, and then it just pervades through their consciousness more and more, and they really start to believe, well, this is how those people are, and then they pass that on, and it's this never-ending cycle. Zorro said it earlier, racism is not going anywhere. Racism is as American as apple pie. It absolutely is. It started from this country started with racism. Racism is going to be there. Now, can we continue to move forward and get better? Yes, we can. We absolutely can. We know that because we have gotten better over the years. We're not where we want to be, but we keep pushing forward to keep trying to make things more equal, less racism. But to think that there's going to be this beautiful world where no one sees color and racism is just not there, that's just not going to happen. That utopia is not going to happen, at least not in the U.S. I can tell you that right now. You know what I mean? We know it's deeply embedded in the system. We've all seen it. We've experienced it. It's going to be there. The system feeds on itself. And so the main thing we can keep doing is keep pushing to make it at least get it to as good as possible. But at the same time, be realistic and understand that we're going to be dealing with this in some way, shape, or form, and then just be knowing how to go about dealing with it. Like I mentioned earlier with Q, really commendably dealing with his situations earlier, because like I said, again, I don't know that would have been me, because I might have gotten in some trouble if I was him. But, that's just how we have to look at it is let's keep pushing to get better, but still be realistic about, the end is not going to be, it's all gone.
Right.
I got a question. So
okay.
To me, like somebody called me, somebody has talked to recently was like, you can't like take your light off one and make yours shine brighter. And it's not that I was doing that. And I was just curious, like, hey man, the LGBT community, whatever you do is your business, but they got their ducks in a row. Like if you say something disrespectful to them or you even hit them, assault them, that's your tail. Period. What are they doing that we should implement for ourselves? I know one thing for sure. I have a cell phone. We all have cell phones, right? These phones update every month, if not twice a month, right? We live in a constitution that's been written over 200-300 years ago, that's never been updated for the safety of Black folks, but for the privilege of white America to benefit off of Black folks. So we as people, you need to unite like the natives or some of the Hispanics on the LGB and create our own foundational Black America Constitution to protect our own people. So when someone does say gorilla, monkey, something black that's disrespectful to you, they're automatically getting the punishment. There's automatically out the gate coming. You put your hands on me, it's automatically coming. There's no, we'll wait to find out what the school does, wait to figure this out. No, you are a person. You have accountability for your actions. So I know we as people need to come together and worry about us and protect us. And then once the world sees that, they're like, oh, yo, they got it together. We need to not mess with them. That's going to stop us going to jail and raising the money, stop us committing crimes, stop us doing the things we've done because we don't know what direction we to go because we feel neglected by not just our own family, but our own society. And then we get in with our own brothers and they're making us feel bad about being who we really are. So it's like, where do we even fit in at?
Yeah, that's a good point, man.
Well, to your point, Zorel, you asked like, what is the LGBT community doing that we're not doing? I don't necessarily think it's what they're doing that we're not doing. Honestly, the powers that be don't want Black people to come up at all.
Period.
And so it's easy to say to turn to any LGBTQ or any other race, right, and start to ignore ours because really the last thing they want would be to really put us on equal footing. And so it's really those other things for them serves as, look, we're working for equality without working for it for all. But hey, look, we're working for equality. So they'll gladly look at the things that the LGBT community is doing for themselves to get equality or any other race or anything like that in order to ignore ours. Because that's why when Black Lives Matter becomes a slogan, there's so much vitriol and pushback on it. How much pushback did you see for Stop Asian Hate? Did you see any?
None.
All Lives Matter?
Zero.
You know why?
Zero.
Because while they know equality is a thing everyone should have, and they're a little more for there's a totem pole here in the U.S. You know what I'm saying? As far as race goes, you know what I mean? And Black people have been at the bottom since the beginning. You know what I mean? That's why they enslaved Black people more than any other race. There was a couple, like I think there's some Native Americans that were also enslaved at times, but we know it was predominantly Africans, right? There's a reason why they'll support Stop Asian Hate or LGBTQ or something else or whatever the cause. Let's support all these other causes, and then you have the few allies that will support, but by and large, it's not the powers that be until they start losing money. So I mean, that's why you see the different reactions when something happens in those other communities as opposed to ours. Because I mean, they really the powers that be don't want the focus on us. They don't want the focus on what they need to do and the history of the U.S. Even like Q was talking about critical race theory needing to be talked about in school. Why in like southern states they're fighting so hard against it? It's not like it's not truth. It's not like it's a documented history. But, one, it doesn't make them feel good. They don't like it. They feel uncomfortable with it. But then two, it's really educating on the history of what's happened to Black folks in this country. And instead, they rather just believe Black people are lazy. Black people are unambitious. They're not trying. By and large, we're not trying to do anything. By and large, we're violent. That's the narrative that they want out there. So that's why we're not going to teach that stuff. That's why we're not going to take up these Black Lives Matter calls. No, you guys are criminals. You're uneducated. You're lazy. You don't want to work. You want handouts, and things like that. That's why I also think about other people that have been received reparations, but yet the people that were enslaved to help build the country never received reparations. We've seen this over and over again. There's a reason for that because the goal is to at times let's on the surface act like we want you to be equal, but really with our actions and the systemic things that we have going on, we really aren't going to do it. You know what I mean? And so that's why we see this never-ending cycle. I mean, really, what we have to do, sort of to your point, Zorrell, is like, one, you got to hit him in the pockets, because when you hit him in the pockets, things move. You know what I mean? And then again, we've talked about, everyone's heard it before, our dollars have to be recycled within our communities. Period. That way we build ourselves up, and then also we take money from those other communities that aren't helping us. And then, they'll start to make, at least some changes when they know they're not getting the money, because, we spend a lot of money. It's just a matter of how we spend it, where we spend it. You know what I mean? So those are the type of things we need to be looking at.
There's something I do want to weigh in. That critical race theory is pretty interesting. They don't want to hold our Caucasian cousins accountable for their actions, but they're quick to put a slave book in front of our face and say, watch 12 Years a Slave, watch this movie. Like, no, I don't watch none of them movies, to be honest with you, because it's traumatic to my mind. I don't like hearing none of that. But yeah, that critical race theory is very interesting, how they don't want to be accountable for their actions in the past.
So, question real quick for all of you guys, and whoever wants to go first is fine. But I was just thinking about this: the idea that black on black crime. How much of the idea of race being relevant has to do with ourselves, and the fact that we hate on each other all the time, and you hear about us fighting with each other and killing each other all the time. How much of it is our fault?
Let me jump in real quick, because I've had endless conversations about this with people, and I hate the term black on black crime because it's not a thing. Because you don't hear white on white crime, you don't hear Mexican on Mexican crime, you don't hear Hispanic on Hispanic crime or Asian on Asian crime. You never hear that stuff. And crime is based on vicinity, based on crime in general. It's like, so they say like what 95% of crime on blacks is by other blacks. But then if you look at the numbers, it's like 90% of crime on whites is by other whites. And you can look at each race and it's the same. And so it's really about, where you live, who
Resources.
You live amongst, and that's where the crime comes from. So I hate the term black on black crime, because that was created to take the light off of the white on black crime through racism over the years. And then so they coined this term to say, well, what about what you guys are doing to each other? Well, you're doing it to each other, to your people too. You know what I mean? And so now, granted, and this is just, again, people in general, as I mentioned earlier, there's a heart condition. People are flawed. People are flawed. There's a such thing as crime that we see happening all the time, but it's because people are flawed. So there's always going to be some crime. In every community, there's going to be some crime. Who it's committed by is really just a matter of who's in that area, who lives in that area. And so that's why I don't really like to focus on it in that sense. Now, can we be better? Sure. But that's to say that all communities can be better. You know what I mean? Should we be working to be better? Absolutely. Should we be working to lessen crime? Absolutely. 100%. But at the same time, I don't like the focus of, well, what about what we do to ourselves or what we do to other people that look like us? Because that's how crime works, period. There's always going to be criminals. And as long as there's criminals, they're going to commit crime in their communities. And more than likely, their communities are going to be people that look like them. And so I just always want to get that out there, because that term, it kind of irks me, because we grew up hearing about black on black crime. And before I was educated enough to know why that became a term, I would hear it and not speak out on it. But now it's like, let's not call it black on black crime, because it's crime. That's all it is. And in every other community, it's just called crime, even though it's white on white or Asian on Asian. And then they use that term a lot when we're talking about like police crime, killing unarmed black men and women. And here's the thing as well: we expect criminals to be criminals. We expect criminals to do things to people because they're criminals. We don't expect police to do criminal things to people. We expect them to protect people from criminals. And so, people, they're so quick to say black on black this, black on black that. It's like, no. First of all, criminal's going to be a criminal. And when a criminal does commit a crime, whether it's black on black, white on white, Hispanic on Hispanic, usually they're pursued by the police, arrested, go to court, go to jail. But then police, They go home, get paid leave, get told that they acted, they did nothing wrong, and then that's the end of it. And then go back to work. So it's like, yeah, let the whole black and black, that term needs to just go as far as I'm concerned.
I wanted to touch on again on Zarel's point when he talked about the LGBTQ and as far as kind of how their movement and are there things that we should kind of pick up from them that we can incorporate in our community. But the one thing that I kind of look at is I always look at, I know the country was built on racism, and I think you made that point earlier. And I don't believe that they feel that and this is nothing against anybody, any other race or any other community, but I don't feel that they believe that any other community or race other than us is detrimental or a target. And so I feel that they look at our community as a threat. I think they look at the black community as a threat because if we were to come together, we were to unite, we were to rise, there's a lot of money in our community. I know Brother Marcus was talking about as far as keeping the money in our communities and letting it cycle more. I know, the minister said that the money in our community cycles, maybe 3 times, but other communities, it cycles 10, 11, 12, 13 times. If we kept a lot of the money in our communities and we started building our banks, our grocery stores, building our own schools, we started bringing the staff in from our people to start teaching and developing our minds, just think how powerful we would be. And I think that's the biggest threat to this country is if you look at our community and what we're able to do. To David's point, and also to Marcus's point, I feel the same way as far as this black on black crime term because there's no such thing. But my grandma always told me, and she always said, the way that we treat each other is a direct reflection on the way they treated us. And she truly believes that. And the more as I get older and the more that I see and I learn about our history and our past, you talk about buck busting, how they used to treat us. You talk about how they used to put us in cages and rings and we'd fight each other. I mean, where did we get a lot of this behavior from? These Neanderthal barbaric behavior. Where did it come from?
Football.
Well, that's how we were raised, per se.
And have you guys noticed how I have American football? When we play football, but we're playing to knock each other's heads off, right? I watch Europe, Africa, and South America. They respect each other. Play soccer and rugby with no pads on. They respect each other not to hit each other at full speed, full capacity, because they care about each other. So as Americans, we're trying to just knock each other right out the gate. Meanwhile, they're like, oh, okay, you okay? They may knock you down, but they'll pick you right back up. And I'm already seeing there's like a lot of love here. There's a lot of hate here. And I want to touch base back on a few things Marcus said as well. As far as like black on black crime, man, yeah, you're right. Crime is crime. Black on black crime is, and everybody's form of crime is like that. As a young and as a youth, I used to be afraid of my own people just because I was getting bullied and picked on. And so I was like, these white folks ain't messing with me. These Mexicans ain't messing with me. I'm like, why y'all beefing with me? You see what I'm saying? So after I started to grow up, I never channeled that anger. And I would just get into arguments with people for no reason until I got old enough to be like, you know what? There's no purpose of us fighting each other. We're doing their job. We're killing each other. So now, as I used to have a lot of female friends, I have tons of male friends. I'll tell them like, hey man, you look good today. I mean, them shoes look nice to you. I'm telling these guys, like I wasn't even taught this. I learned because I wanted to do better. I said, man, you look nice today. I don't even know you at work. I go to Target. Hey man, you're doing a good job. When I see black folks working, I give them their flowers. Whatever they're doing, we need to practice giving more love and more kindness out to people because we never know what someone is going through, or what they're going to grow through or become. And I think that is a big pivotal point into changing this whole cultural behavior. Another one, cops have not changed. Police came from plantations to catch slaves. When they left the field, the master would call them to catch them. Nothing's changed between 1865 to 2021, except for them having a gun, a badge, a car, a walkie-talkie, and more people. So we got to understand where they come from. Nothing has changed. Maybe if we take the Black's Law dictionary that they study out of and rewrite some rules and regulations about us to protect our people, they'll have a different respect and a different approach. That's why I'm feeling about this new police staff that we have here in Tacoma maybe this is a chance for Tacoma to actually rise and feel a little secure. Get someone that's fresh. Let him come to the neighborhood. Let him come to the community. Hey, I'm here. This is what I do. So I'm a part of. Contact information is here. Therefore, somebody's not coming in and terrorizing it. We don't need that. I wasn't in Tacoma my whole life. I was in Atlanta, North Carolina, but I'm here now. God put me here, and I love this. I'm gonna do my best to make this safe for everybody. So and we understand where cops come from, and we can't give them a hard time. Don't be smoking your car, drive. Don't be doing. My uncle said, don't be doing stuff to catch attention. So we got to stop doing stuff to catch attention, and then they retaliate. We cannot be mad. They retaliate because they're doing their job. So we got to be smarter in all aspects. The biggest aspect that we got to be smarter in, I think everybody was saying, is about unity and coming together and strength in numbers. Right now, we have, as Black Americans, Foundation of Black Americans, we have the biggest support from our Caucasian cousins, our own people, and the LGBT community. Just being honest with you, they are supporting us more now than they would have in the 50s and 60s because they didn't know. There's a level of them like I feel for you. Here goes our heart. I want to help. I hear what's going on. I want to help. We need that urban league community, that FBA community, to step up and be like, all right, this is what we need done, X, Y, or Z, and we handle that. That's what we need. We don't need people doing stuff for clout because they want to do it. Do stuff because, hey, I'm on TV, I'm on whatever. No, do it because it's genuine, it's at your heart, and you care for the community. And once we start doing that, our support is going to grow. We'll be able to create this Black Wall Street. And this is what Mr. Steplight was talking about, building businesses. This is a conversation I'm having coming up February 5th. A lot of business owners got to get out of their own way. They feel like they don't need no help growing their grocery store. They don't need no help growing their detailing business. They don't need no help growing whatever because they're satisfied with that 10 grand a month, 15 grand a month. Like, yeah, you may be making more money now, but there's a level after that. And it takes a team to build. So these small business owners that are getting big and are doing good, they have to learn how to work as a team. And that's something that we are conditionally need to recondition our minds and bodies. We're competitive individual, but we need to learn how to play on a team. So that's something these small business owners need to understand. You can't do inventory, you can't do the work, you can't answer the phones, you can't do HR and then expect to be filing your own taxes. It does not work like that. It takes trust. And I'm only speaking from my experience. I'll do all of that and be like, cool, $400-$500. But no, if I have a team, I can make 1,000 a day, 12,000. I don't know. I can do these things by trusting my people. We got to learn how to start trusting, giving our men or women our flowers, and being more kind to everyone. And when stuff don't go our way, we can't be upset and blame someone else. We always got to take a step back and look at our actions as well.
Love that. Love that. Hey Z, we was talking about that yesterday, and that's why like we was talking about just there's always going to be people that are going to be talking about you as soon as you leave that area with them, but you got to love them either way. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. I love anyone who ever says something negative to me. I love them. I mean, their pictures is on my wall still. I love them. Nothing ever stopped me. It's all hearsay. Nothing ever happened. I'm good. I just keep going. But you can't be a thief and go steal and be like, see, I told you was a thief. You see what I'm saying? You can't be beating up people. Like, I don't beat up nobody. Didn't get caught beating up somebody. It don't work like that. We gotta be smarter in the aspects of just life.
Hey, so I got a couple stats I want to read to you guys real quick, and then if anybody else wants to say something, please go ahead. The floor is still open until you guys want to end. That's kind of how this is going. I was saying about 2 hours was max, but let's just continue the conversation. Anybody out there that's watching, if you want to chime in, comment, please do. We're still here. So what I got here is the researchers surveyed 101 Black youth between the ages of 13 and 17 from predominantly Black neighborhoods in Washington, D.C., each day for 2 weeks. The teens reported that 5,600 experiences of racial discrimination in total, an average of more than 5 negative racially motivated experiences per day per person. An average of more than 5 negative racially motivated experiences per day per person.
Do you know when this was
Crazy.
done? You know when this
Huh?
survey was done? Do you know when this study was done?
I don't have the information.
Okay.
Shout out to Erin Demetrio. She sent me this information, and I'm just reading it off top of
Okay.
what she got from me. The next one, it says in a statistics survey conducted by Department of Justice in 2020, an average of 1 out of every 1,000 Black people aged 12 or older experienced racially motivated intimidation, victimization, or violent crimes against them. So I'll try it one more time. Did you guys get that?
Yeah, say it one more time, please.
Okay. In a statistics survey conducted by the Department of Justice in 2020, an average of 1 out of every 1,000 Black people aged 12 or older experienced racially motivated intimidation, victimization, or violent crime against them.
That's it.
1 out of every 1,000.
That should be like 1 out of every 3.
Wow.
It says 1 out of every 1,000 Black people.
Yeah, that sounds a little low, actually.
Yeah.
And it's probably whoever took the,
Yeah, I say that because like every Black person I know has experienced something. And that's 1 out of 100 out of 100. So to say 1 out of every 1,000 is like, nah, come on, that does not sound right at all.
And there's 220,000 people in Tacoma, so I was trying to say, 220 of them only experience racism.
That sounds really 1 out of 1,000. I thought I didn't hear it correctly the first time, and I didn't. And then I'm like, wait a minute, 1 out of 1,000? Yeah, no, because I don't know any Black person that can say they haven't experienced at least something. You know what I mean? Whether it was something small or something big. And then I can look at myself and I can give you off the top of my head 5 detailed stories of my own, like this from being high school, from a child, adult, you know what I'm saying? So, and there's more than that I can actually speak on over the course of my life. So, and I'm thinking if I've experienced all of I experienced, I can only imagine what some other people experience, especially like people that might live in the South, or you know what I'm saying, or just areas that are just known to be have even more racism. Because in Washington, we know we have our racism. Those of us that live here know we have our racism, but it's looked at as a place that doesn't have a lot of racism. You know what I'm saying? Whereas we know it's here. Obviously, we wouldn't be sitting here right now if it wasn't for Q's story, in the first place. But there's other areas where it's even more prevalent. So to say 1 out of 1,000, it's like, no, come on now. I mean, really, someone skewed these results heavily.
And they probably include no southern states in that quote.
Absolutely not.
That's crazy.
What I can say about just racism in general, because I grew up in North Carolina, New Bern, and Decatur, East Side, Atlanta for quite some time in my life, especially my teenage years. So I hit 21. Racism is there, but it's so controlled and feared. You got to just shut up and keep it pushing. You know what I'm saying? Same thing about being gay. Like my cousin is gay, but my auntie be like, yo, stay in the house, homie. I don't want nothing happen to you. Just because. But out in Washington, you can do whatever you want to. You see what I'm saying? White folks embrace you and they talk to you. So I've been on both sides of the fence, like, damn, life is better out here than it is down there. But like I said, the form of racism is just put in different perspectives. It just happens in different avenues. It's not blatantly in front of your face as it is in the South. Here it's around the corner, then it's there. So that's something that I've become accustomed to, and I'm learning. And honestly, man, I love all these white folks here because I've been around some real rude white folks in my whole life. But the ones here are very open to learn about you and talk to you.
Oh yeah, there's some true allies out here.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll tell you one thing.
For sure.
I was raised on, like, don't talk to no white girl, don't talk to no so and so. I'm like, why? Because of what she went through. You see what I'm saying? So I'm racist by fault. So I'm like, hey, I can't talk to you because it's not right. I don't want it to happen to me. But then after I crack out of that, I'm like, these white folks are cool. A lot of them are my clients now to this day. These guys are really, really cool. We can't let one bad apple ruined the bunch too. And I think it's with us. They let one black dude, a woman, ruin it for all of us. So,
Oh yeah, I know quite a few white folks that they really ride for the cause. Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
some I'll be like, whoa, chill. You ain't gotta go that hard. Like, hey, you riding harder than me.
I've gotten thousands of messages and emails since this whole situation has happened from a lot of white folks, a lot of white families that are really supportive. They're calling the superintendent, they're calling the mayor, they're calling the governor, they're calling everybody. They're riding hard. And so it's like, and that's kind of where I'm like, man, maybe in the next 50 to 60 years, maybe we will get to a point to where everybody does see everybody equal. Because when you start to get some of the goodness and you start to get some of that, you see the potential. You see, white folks getting involved. There's a big protest and walkout that's going to happen on Monday where all the white students at Capitol that support are walking out of school third period to protest that they feel like the kid should be expelled. I mean, I don't remember that happening back in the 60s and 70s. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't born then, but I don't know. It just feels like, man, like there's some we're taking the steps in the right direction, and I hope by the time my kids have kids that maybe there is some room, man, to where it'll get like that one day, where I go in for a job interview and Patrick goes in for a job interview and they look at both our resumes and they say, hey, you're the more qualified one, so we're gonna hire you.
Absolutely. I like your dreads. Man, you ain't got to tell them, just come on in. Yeah, come on in.
I mean, to your point, Q, you said the next 56 years, I expect change, you know what I'm saying, over time. I mean, without a doubt, I expect it will get better. Like I said, I don't think it'll be everybody feels everybody is this and that. Like, I just don't see it like being where it's just everyone sees everyone as equal 100%. Like, again, at least not in the U.S. It's just hard for me to see that happening. But I do expect progress over the course of time. And I expect that to keep going. I do expect that by the time my son is my age, that he will be living in a lot better world, a better U.S. than, as far as race relations are concerned, than what we deal with now. Just like when my dad was 40, it wasn't as good for him as it is for me. You know what I mean? Or like even back when, the stories he told me when he was a child in school, because he grew up here in Tacoma as well, so the stuff he dealt with then, I didn't have to deal with that. I had to deal with other stuff, and not quite as deep or quite as often as he had to, but there was still something. And I expect my son will still deal with some things, but hopefully not as much as I've had to deal with. So I do expect progress. I do expect change. I do expect things to get better and keep pushing, especially like you guys have said, it does seem, Zaro mentioned this in particular, it seems like there's a lot of support from other groups more now than we've seen before. Especially we also, like when the thing happened with George Floyd, all of a sudden there was this big outpouring around the world. It's a shame it took an 8-minute video of something so graphic for people to really realize, oh, this really is a thing. You know what I'm saying? Because, us simply telling our story should be enough, but, it has to be on video and then it had to be that graphic and that deep. But at the very least, it did open some eyes. Like I always tell people, George Floyd didn't die in vain by any means. You know what I'm saying? Because it sparked so much more awareness. And so I'm thankful for him because of that. You know what I mean? So, he's always going to be remembered. People talk, oh, he's not a hero. No one's calling him a hero. But you know what? But his life, his death was definitely not in vain. That whole situation was not in vain. Because we've seen a lot of stuff happen since then. Of course, this is just a token, but Juneteenth is a federal holiday. Juneteenth. People didn't even know what it was before. A lot of people didn't know what it was. Some of us, who maybe got educated on it before had, heard about it, knew what it was. But by and large, people didn't know what it was, and that became a holiday. So again, I expect progress. I expect it to continue. I do hope that it doesn't have to be on the back of something like a George Floyd situation again. I do hope just because people are choosing to become more educated, choosing to learn more, choosing to help move things forward. But yeah, I do expect it, especially with the next 56 years. If things are the way they are now in 50, 60 years, boy, that's a sad state of affairs for
Yeah. Okay, so real quick, guys, Q's got to get his son to basketball practice. So we're gonna go ahead and close up shop here real quick. But I want everybody to give one quick answer. How can we spark change today?
Action. We need to practice group economical activities in our own communities, have a conversation about what we want to do and how to implement those plans. Talk sounds good, but actions speak words. Love is cool, but love is a language. Love is a action word. You got to start putting the action in the motion. We got to start putting more action in the motion.
Okay. What about you, Marcus?
And I'll say it also happens through relationships. Light shines in darkness. Light doesn't shine in light. We people go off the stereotypes they see, the things they've been taught. The only way they learn different is by you. Teach them different and show them something different.
Absolutely.
I believe if we can get critical race theory into the schools, being taught by professors, black professors of color, I honestly feel like we can start making a difference. We can start educating these kids, all kids, because I think there's also some of our own kids that need to learn. They don't understand really the history as well. But I feel if we can get education in that sense, critical race theory into the schools, I feel like that's going to be a huge step in the right direction. All the schools, not just the school where we're at, all the schools, it needs to be taught.
I need to say one more thing. And you also have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because you think about the critical race theory, people are uncomfortable with it, so they don't want to be around it. Some of us are uncomfortable with trying to be the messenger and being out there and getting the message out there, but we have to get comfortable with it. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, because this whole thing of racism is not comfortable for anyone. And talking about it is not comfortable. Even those of us who've dealt with it a lot of times, it can still be uncomfortable. So we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Can I throw something in real quick? We got a little second. Based off what Marcus said, get uncomfortable to be comfortable. And this group, I'm part of a group of business owners. We meet once a week at the casino, 7:30 in the morning to 9 a.m. They're all millionaires. I was invited into this group. I go in there. I'm uncomfortable. But for my business to grow, to me to bump shoulders with Mr. Larson or whoever I'm working with, I have to be there. You see what I'm saying? And that's what we got to do. We have to get out of our own way to get to the mountaintops. I mean, that we have to put these actions to play. I mean, that's all I want to say. We have to get uncomfortable. Hey, I don't want to get up in the morning. Well, you got to get up. You got to go here. You got to go here. Otherwise, you keep playing about the same thing. We're going to keep going on the same circle. Put yourself in a room and learn how to.
For me, I think it's really simple. Just spreading love. You know what I'm saying? They hate us.
Yep.
They're gonna hate us either way. Spread that love either way. Just show it, regardless of what they say or do to us. Say, you know what? I see how you treat me. I see what you're saying about me, but I still love you anyway, and keep it. Yep. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Continue to love them, because they gonna be there. Y'all know they gonna be there. We're hoping that we have changed 50 years from now. We're hoping that.
We will. I'm gonna die for mine, man. I'm gonna ride for the cause, man. I'm gonna ride for the cause. I'm not lying. I don't know how long I'll live, but I'm gonna fight for my people. I'm gonna fight.
Hey, this was a great conversation, guys. I definitely feel like we should do this again for part 2. Thank you, Amari, for being here and being a part of this and sharing your thoughts. We are here for you. All these brothers that are on this screen, we're all here for you. If you need anything, you can get in contact with me. Q knows all of our contact information. We are here for you in anything that you may need moving forward. We got your back, and we hope that justice is served, not just a day off and a speech that they're going to rewrite for them. Justice, real, true justice.
Amen.
And I want to make sure I stay in contact with all you brothers as well.
Okay.
What's up?
For sure. I was just saying I want to make sure I stay in contact with all you brothers as well.
We here, man.
Keep you guys posted.
This is a first of many to come. So thank you guys so much. This is not a hate against anybody. We just speaking our thoughts and reality and things that could do to ignite change. That's what this is all about, y'all. So thank you all so much for being a part of this conversation. We will be back again for another part 2 of Circle Talk about race. So y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. Peace, everyone.
Assalamu alaikum.